Well, hello everybody, and we've just heard a fascinating presentation about the cutting edge of industrial design and architecture. And now we have what is perhaps the highlight, one of the highlights of today's event, which is a chance to hear about the cutting edge of design from Jony Ive, who is a man who needs no introduction. He is the king of cool in the design world. He's a man who's touched, I say, most of our lives, in fact the lives of many people on the planet. Hands up here who owns either an iPhone, iPod, iPad, Apple Watch, or a MacBook, or all five at once.
Oh, well done.
Whoa, okay, that is a lot. Hands up who doesn't own any of those things. One, two, okay, well. Okay, so you have a lot of fans in the audience right now. You also have people probably with some burning questions to ask, like, what happens to my iPhone when I drop it in the bath? Why doesn't it work? Why do the batteries keep running out? What's going to happen to the iPhone 8? Etc., etc. And I'm going to ask you about that in a minute, but before we do that, I'd like to start by talking not about your long career at Apple, which of course is fascinating, but about something that happened last week. Quite remarkable. The Royal College of Arts announced that you have been appointed as the new Chancellor. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And that is remarkable, not just because it's a very prestigious role and you're taking over from James Dyson, but also because I think it was about 25, 30 years ago, you were given a chance to go to the RCA, and apparently you turned it down because the RCA seemed a bit boring. I think the actual quote in one of the magazine articles was that you went into one of the classes teaching car design, and they were all going vroom, vroom, and you said no.
Generally, I think it's a good thing to keep the noise down when you're drawing. But no, it was quite an animated studio then. And, but yeah, accompanying the drawings of cars was the vroom, vroom noises.
Vroom, vroom. Well, what's fascinating is that you've now come back as Chancellor at a time when the RCA is undergoing some fascinating changes. And although everyone in education likes to talk about STEM, science, technology, engineering, and maths, the new motto for the RCA is STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and maths. People are trying to combine technology and arts and design. And that's very much what Apple's been about, very much what your career is about. So I'm curious, from your new role as Chancellor, where do you see design going these days? How is it changing compared to how it was 25, 30 years ago?
I mean, I think the nature of the problems is shifting and moving. I mean, when I look back over the last 25 years, the type of problems that we're facing is shifting. But I do think that one of the constants is the approach as designers we can bring to bear on the problems. It was interesting what Linda said earlier about being curious and inquisitive, about that love of being surprised and being wrong, that being light on your feet, and that curiosity, I think, has never been more important, more powerful. So while the nature of problems shifts and moves, I think the approach and the value of the approach remains absolutely the same.
Well, I mean, where do you get your inspiration from? I mean, Steve Jobs, one of the interviews revealed that he had trained in Japanese calligraphy early in his life, and that influenced a lot of his designs and vision. I'm curious, what has influenced you in your design themes?
I mean, my personal experience has been, it's less about those things that are sort of external, and it's much more about your personal view of the world. And so from this foundation, from this basis of being curious, constantly having, the questions of, well, why? Why is it this way? I think that's absolutely core to inspiration. What is interesting is then what turns what could be just purely rhetoric and a whole bunch of questions, what turns that into something that's actionable, then becomes things like frustration and the incredible opportunity that seems to exist to make things better.
And when you were growing up, did you think of yourself as a techie or an artist? I mean, how did you imagine your own career unfolding?
Well, first of all, I was surrounded by things that I'd taken to pieces. And some of the earliest memories I have was I remember we had this as a child, an alarm clock, an old mechanical one, and the curiosity of what's inside there, and discovering this little mechanical city of, which seemed absolutely extraordinary to me. So at one level there was that curiosity about the physical world. But then I realized, my love and my passion was drawing and then making things. But my drawing was in service of making something. So it wasn't a path of self-expression, or it was as a tool to help me understand what existed, and then help me understand what could exist.
And when you look back over your sort of career of drawing things, making things, taking apart things, is there any one object or one item that you feel most proud of? I mean, if you had to pick one thing, this is the version of Desert Island Discs, if you like, one thing that you would take with you to an island that you're most proud of, would it be the iPhone, Apple Watch?
No. I think what I'm probably more interested in is an approach, is process. Those are the things that I get frustrated with, but also excited about and inspired by, and to degrees am proud of. There's I think as Norman was talking about earlier, working with a diverse group of people representing a very diverse sort of set of expertise, and I find the processes that we've evolved to be able to collaborate effectively, I'm proud of playing a part in that. And that seems honestly much more significant than a single thing, more significant than the actual solution.
So is there anything that you've learnt not to do in design? Any big sort of mistakes that you've made, or any things you've learnt that are absolutely the kiss of death for the design process?
Dogma, that sort of sense of dismissing ideas too quickly. I think what really does haunt me are the ideas that we've missed. What worries me the most are those things that I'm not aware of. Over the last 20, 25 years, one of the things I think we've learned, one is how profoundly important an idea is, and how fragile an idea can be, that then over the course of development can become so powerful, so robust, so influential. But at those early stages, how fragile, how easily missed, how easy it is to compromise. And that's what worries me, those things that perhaps you're just not aware of.
Right. So, we saw earlier, Norman put up a picture of the mobile phone and how it's evolved. just within the space of a few years.
Yes.
If you try and throw yourself forward 10, 20 years and imagine what are the ideas that are around us that we may not be fully grasping and appreciating today, what would be your bet?
Well, obviously, I'm not going to talk about that at all. I mean, that's what I'm working on at the moment. But it is that the rate of change, not just in terms of the affording technology, which is remarkable and incredibly stimulating, but it's the rate of change in terms of expectation, behavior, and then the implications to society and culture. But it is the change right now is rapid and somewhat intoxicating.
Right. But I mean, I'm obviously not asking you to divulge any trade secrets, although feel free if you'd like to. But, you know, are you more excited right now about things like self-driving cars, about aerospace, about, you know, wearable technologies, about things we can put on our heads? I mean, you know, what really makes you feel incredibly excited when you get out of bed in the mornings?
People.
So it's not the iPhone Mark 22 or something?
No, we make tools for people, and that's why we exist. That's what drives us. It really is that sense of trying to make something to the very best of our ability that will enable and empower my friends, our, you know, the people that use our products. But that's what drives us. And I think that it would be concerning if it was just a fascination with the technology. I mean, I think part of the job of a designer, in many ways, I think you can provide a focus for and some goals for technology. But you can have the most incredibly powerful technology that can be completely irrelevant unless it can connect to us in a meaningful and useful way.
Right. I mean, how does this play into education or training for designers and architects? Because, you know, you are now Chancellor. Maybe I should call you Chancellor Ive, not Jony. But Chancellor Ive, do you think that schools, universities are training kids in the right way today to actually create that curiosity, to create that ability to connect technology skills and artistic skills? I mean, do you think we're actually preparing people correctly? And I'm sure there are probably some students in the audience right now.
Well, I do think, I mean, so the most important, I guess, focus is to start with how we look at the world. And it is that curiosity, being inquisitive, asking those questions. And as a industrial designer, as a product designer by training, one of the important things is that we remain physical beings, and some of the tools, some of the tools that are enabled by extraordinary technology are seductive and compelling, but they cannot be a surrogate for actually making something. Actually, I was lucky enough as I grew up to grow up drawing and then making things that I'd drawn. But that actually hands-on dealing with materials is the most extraordinary way of understanding the attributes and characteristics of a material. And actually, probably more importantly, the opportunities of a material. And so I think in some ways it was easier for me because the tools that existed at the time actually weren't that compelling. And so there wasn't really a choice. And right now there are ways in which we can visualize thoughts and designs very quickly. But that sort of short circuits your engagement with the physical world.
So you still need to have Lego blocks, cardboard. We were talking earlier about being in praise of gaffer tape, that, you know, what the Americans call duct tape. You still need physical items, do you? Or can you do it on a computer? I mean, do you design things on a computer?
We do both. But it is, I mean, these tools are incredibly powerful and compelling. And this isn't new, that the concept of understanding a tool and using it appropriately has been an issue, I mean, for forever. But it's just using the tools at the right time in the process. But no, there isn't a replacement. They cannot be a surrogate for actually engaging in the physical world. If your output, and I'm being very, very specific to designing and making three-dimensional objects, if what you're responsible for is designing and making three-dimensional objects, you need to actually do that and not just model that digitally.
And how does AI play into this? I mean, you know, we're hearing a lot about how AI-enabled robots can do some extraordinary things. I was chatting to Gary Kasparov the other day about the experience of being beaten by a robot at chess. Do you see a future where an AI-enabled robot could go forth and design the iPhone 10?
I think there are aspects of what we're doing in terms of sort of advanced modeling where absolutely there is a role. But some of the, I mean, you know how, actually we were talking about this yesterday, how we understand a problem, even right at the very beginning, how you understand a problem, how you frame the problem is a critical part of the design process. And it's a very creative part of the design process. So, and I think that's when you understand potential opportunities. But so no, I think there are, and always will be, a very important role for us, and the sorts of questions that we would ask that are perhaps not obvious.
Right. And we haven't got a lot more time left, but I'm curious, if you had one thing that you could design for yourself, just for yourself, to make your own life better, what would that be?
Actually, I wouldn't mind a nice soap dispenser at the moment.
A nice soap dispenser?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody knows of a nice soap dispenser.
A nice soap dispenser?
What an appalling answer.
I think it's a very practical answer.
But you see, that's what I do go back to, which is I love those things that unite us, whether it's dealing with very large problems or things that seem trivial. But it's remarkable to me that there are products that we use and we have an expectation of multiple times a day that just really aren't very good. Like soap dispensers.
Right. And when will we get an iPhone battery that doesn't run out?
Oh, wait. Battery technology, so I could talk about this for a long time. I love, I mean, this is probably more interesting for me. But when you're dealing with something like a battery, one of the things that we've found over the years is that part of the way you address the issues of batteries is the place in the system. And one of the things that I am so fortunate in, I get to work with some of the most extraordinary engineers. And one of the things that we've been doing a lot of work on has been understanding that the way in which we charge a battery should be constantly modified based upon the state of the battery. I mean, you asked the question. So
Yes, well, I think everyone in the audience who's got an iPhone would love to know the answer.
Well, so understanding how many times the battery has been charged and discharged, understanding the temperature, understanding how, the actual status in terms of how charged it is, but modifying the way then in which it is charged, we've found has had a huge impact on extending its life.
Okay, well, fascinating. So is it coming anytime soon?
Actually, that's already been integrated into the products we make.
All right. Well, I think that is technical code for watch this space. It's coming soon. Well, I would love to keep talking to you all day, but unfortunately, we do have to keep moving on. It's been fascinating. I think everyone in the audience has a reason to thank you for all you have done in terms of pushing forward, or you and your team pushing forward the cutting edge of design. And I would just suggest that maybe in your new role as Chancellor, perhaps your first task that you set the students should be to create a newly cutting-edge soap dispenser. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.